The death penalty, also known as capital punishment, has been the subject of intense debate for decades. The death penalty is the most extreme form of punishment, where in response to a serious crime, the state takes the life of a convicted individual. I hope to persuade you to support H.R. 262, the Federal Death Penalty Prohibition Act, which hopes to prohibit the use of the death penalty sentence by the federal government. In the U.S., the death penalty is illegal in 23 states and legal in 24. In the other 3 states, like here in California, the death penalty is legal, but moratorium is present. This means that convicts can be placed and held on death row, but they cannot be executed unless this moratorium is lifted. First and foremost, it is important to establish that the death penalty does not actually deter violent criminals. Those who advocate for the death penalty believe that it prevents violent crime, arguing that the threat of being possibly executed will cause people to refrain from committing a crime they have been planning. However, evidence reveals the exact opposite. Here is an analysis from the Death Penalty Information Center on murder rates in states with and without the death penalty. As you can see, the murder rate is actually lower in states without the death penalty. However, this may be due to entirely different factors, but it is still important to consider. The Abraham Borman Center, a Washington, D.C.-based organization that promotes human rights, conducted a study that found that nations that abolish the death penalty tend to see a decline in murder rates. In the 11 countries that abolished capital punishment, 10 of them saw a decrease in murder rates over a 10-year period. And numerous different countries were looked at here, such as Bulgaria, Poland, Ukraine, and South Africa. And in all but one, as I said, murder rates stayed the same or went down. So this goes to show that this phenomenon is not only seen in the US, it is also seen in other countries around the world. The possibility of execution at some later date is not likely to enter the mind of a criminal who plans on taking someone's life. Furthermore, those acting under the influence of drugs or alcohol are also unlikely to be influenced by the death penalty. Those in a grip of fear or rage, or people who are panicking while committing another crime, or even those who are suffering from mental illness are all also unlikely to be affected by the death penalty. The threat of a possible execution in the future is not going to enter their mind and dissuade them. So, not only does the death penalty fail to deter crime, it is also extremely expensive, and it is much less cost-efficient than a system utilizing life without parole sentences as a form of maximum punishment. This higher cost is usually due to longer trials and appeals and the need for more experts and lawyers when someone's life is on the line. The Office of Defender Services of the Administrative Office of the U.S. Courts found that the average cost of defending a trial in a federal death case is $620,932, which is about 8 times that of a federal murder case in which the death penalty is not sought. Of course, there is some variation when it comes to the overall cost. A study released by the Urban Institute found that in a single death sentence cost Maryland taxpayers $3 million, which is $1.9 million more than the cost of a non-death penalty case in the state of Maryland. Now, what about here in California? Well, a study done in 2011 found that since reinstating the death penalty in 1978, our completely dysfunctional death penalty system has cost taxpayers over $4 billion, which has carried out no more than 13 executions. So in this graph here, you can see exactly where this money is spent. 42% goes towards pretrial and trial costs. 20% went towards automatic appeals and state habeas corpus petitions. 70% went towards federal habeas corpus appeals, and 22% went toward the cost of overall incarceration. Furthermore, it is very important to mention that many of those who deal with the justice system firsthand are also opposed to the use of capital punishment. So this is not an opinion that is only held by regular everyday citizens. This is something seen within criminologists and police officers as well. Ray Samuels, a former police chief of Newark, California, was quoted saying, "If the millions of dollars currently spent on the death penalty were rather spent on investigating unsolved homicides, modernizing crime labs, and expanding effective violence prevention programs, our communities would be much safer." Furthermore, A study conducted in 2009 by the Journal of Criminal Law and Criminology found that 88% of our country's top criminologists do not believe the death penalty deters crime. These individuals have more insight into our justice system than anybody else, and they understand that capital punishment is not a necessary policy. As I've explained, H.R. 262, or the Federal Death Penalty Prohibition Act, would entirely end the use of the death penalty by the federal government. However, the second half of the bill also states that any person sentenced to death before the date of enactment of this act for any violation of federal law shall be resentenced. So, not only future convicts, but those previously sentenced before the bill has been instated would also no longer be facing the death penalty. This legislation will alleviate all of the issues I have previously stated. Based on the evidence found by multiple studies, abolishment of the death penalty will have no effect on the murder rate in America overall. Furthermore, the murder rate could possibly even go down, although, as I have stated, this can be attributed to other factors that are completely outside of the death penalty. However, it is still vital to consider. Most importantly, the removal of capital punishment would allow for the improvement of the entire justice system as a whole. All over the country, the funding expended on these cost-inefficient cases could be better spent on other areas of the justice system, or could be used to help support underfunded communities. I hope I've convinced you to support the Federal Death Penalty Prohibition Act and made you aware of the shortcomings of capital punishment. Although this bill now has the support of more than 90 members of Congress and 265 national organizations from all over the country, it needs all the support it can get. This is where you come in. What exactly can you do? Well, first and foremost, you can contact your state legislature. This can be done by calling their district office and writing a letter or email. This speech demonstrated the ineffectiveness of capital punishment and the toll it takes on vital government funding. Now it is up to you to explain how you feel about the issue personally and what it means to you on an emotional level. Show them that you understand the intricacies of the subject matter and that by supporting H.R. 262, they can not only improve our justice system, but they can improve the lives of millions of people living in America. Thank you.